This is the final stand. The power's in your hands. Two worlds collide on the inside.
Man, I've never felt so intimidated when talking about a video, but there is so much I need to cover before I can even begin to talk about the actual show, so let's start with some important context. Bakugan, or as I used to call it when I was 6 years old, Bakugan, don't ask, is an anime made to promote some toys in which people would throw balls on cards and the balls would transform into whatever, like dragons and stuff. I know it sounds weird, but it was really fun. A lot of people would just buy them for the novelty of the whole ball thing, but there was a card game that people played in the anime and it was pretty cool, not gonna lie. You could play it in real life too. And Bakugan kinda just like blew up, especially in Canada. It was on par with Beyblade and Yu-Gi-Oh! For soulless cash grab anime with really cool products. The anime and toys went on to do its thing until like 2012 for a multitude of reasons that can be found out if you just watched Kodak's video. But to make a long story short, the anime kinda just went on with nothing super interesting happening after the second season. The toys, on the other hand, just kinda started to look bad and power creep was just on a whole new level. Again, this is a pretty abridged retelling of what happened, so you should probably just go watch Kodak's video unless I'm just so cool that you don't want to leave, which is understandable. Anyways, let's talk about what this video actually is about, you know, the Bakugan reboot. Before we can, I kinda have to make something else clear. I'm gonna be ragging on the show and not the toys. The new ones are just straight up better than the old ones in every single way, I'm not even joking. They're higher quality, and the new card game has far more depth. I'm purely talking about the anime, which, as you will find out, might be the worst anime you'll ever see. Oh wait, I can't actually start the actual video yet because I have to talk about one last thing that I should acknowledge, being that I kinda have no right to complain. Out of the 5 seasons of the show that are out, I watched 3 and a bit of the 4th one, approximately 7 episodes. 7 times 10 actually. At some point, if I thought the show was bad, I should've just stopped, right? Yeah, pretty much. I kinda hate the whole if you don't like it, don't watch it argument, but at a certain point I really should've just stopped. If that makes my argument invalid, then by all means, please ignore what I'm gonna say. Keep in mind, this video isn't gonna be like the others where I complain that it isn't the same as the original. Like, I get it, this isn't your Dan. I'm gonna be talking about the show on its own for the majority of the video. Plenty of other YouTubers have already said the same thing, I don't want to waste your time too much. First thing you might notice about the show is that it kinda looks awful. The Bakugan, which are the main appeal of the anime, kinda look, again, awful. I get why they're all robots to help blend in with the CGI art style, but this looks straight up bad. I can't think of a single battle that looked good out of everything I've watched. Only one scene looks barely passable, and that's considering my insanely low standards. Again, I'm no animation expert, so feel free to ignore what I'm saying if it's just wrong, but why do they move so slowly? The first season didn't even have the cool Bakugan opening up thing. That's the coolest thing that they did, what the hell? The backgrounds look muddy, and they have jarring uses of CGI, and the overall aesthetic of the show kinda looks... I'm running out of words that mean awful that don't involve the dreaded S word. Stupid. The only way this could be considered remotely acceptable animation would be if the animators would pay $20 a year in Monopoly money. Okay, so you know how I said the rebooted card game was like actually good? Yeah, they don't use it in the show. I don't know why, but they just don't. Instead, they have a Pokemon-esque system in which the brawlers call out attacks and throw these hexagons at them to power them up. I'm gonna be real, there's literally no strategy to this since there's not a shred of power scaling in the show. Sometimes the characters pull out good strategies but never use them again. Sometimes the Bakugan just don't attack. You can't predict who's gonna win unless you know who the story favors. Despite how much they focus on it, training barely matters anyways. In the first season, they introduced evolutions, which as far as I remembered, only worked when the plot called for it, and they got rid of them in season 2, so what was even the point? They constantly act as if the awesome ones, later renamed Awesome Brawlers, which is still inferior to the Battle Brawlers, but like, whatever, are the strongest ones around, which would make sense when you see them saving the world, and yet for some reason they lose to the dumbest stuff imaginable. One minute they're clapping golden Bakugan, and the next thing you know, a generic bad guy is putting them on the ropes. It's especially infuriating with Dan, but we'll definitely get to that one later. The most interesting strategy in the show is losing on purpose so you can get an overpowered item that'll help you, and I don't even have to explain why that's super lame. The fighting system has about as much depth as a kiddie pool, even though it has no reason to be that lame. I get that they wanted a slightly younger audience and times have changed, but they didn't have to change the system so much. There are kids playing the full card game in real life. I don't see why this is necessary. Even really young kids could keep up with Yu-Gi-Oh, and that's because they explain the effects. So why did they do this? Honestly, the voice acting is pretty hit or miss, but some do a pretty good job, like Winton. Shoot.
So, which one do you think is the real one? Hey, Truck!
Winton, there we go. Only problem is their delivery. It's pretty bad.
The enemy will be here soon.
Feels as if they're at the mercy of the character's lip flaps, like in Speed Racer. Combine this and the animation, you have a pretty cheap show. Okay, but for real, if I can compare your voice acting to Speed Racer, that isn't a good thing.
Stop crying. It won't do any good. And anyway, you have a lot of work to do, starting right now.
Bro, I cannot for the life of me remember anything about the plot in this show. Okay, so that's probably a skill issue on my part, but there's barely anything worth noting in the show. I don't mind the episodic episodes, but the one where there's supposed to be a plot, I can't really remember what happens. First season, evil golden Bakugan. Second season, evil purple alien. Third season, I don't even know, bro. But hey, at least the characters are pretty cool, right? I'm gonna talk about the main characters for this section since everybody else can barely qualify as a one-note character. Let's start with our main character, Dan Kuso. I don't care that he isn't like the old one, after all this is a reboot, but this guy kinda just, I don't know, he's not cool. He's supposed to be the confident, acting on impulse, generic main character, but he doesn't really grow in the slightest. He acts annoying and doesn't change. I have no problems with stagnant characters. I have no problems with characters that are meant to be annoying, but when you combine the two, it's kinda just infuriating. He makes the same mistakes over and over. That's it. He really isn't that interesting. Quentin is meant to be the smart guy, but he doesn't really act like that sometimes, and when he doesn't, it's really annoying. It's almost amazing how his Bakugan is an infinitely better character than him. Leah is alright. Yeah, she's pretty cool, actually. She's probably the only one in the group with actual brain cells, not gonna lie. Man, Shun fell off so hard. He was arguably the most important character in season 1, and after that, he kinda just vanishes. Barely any screen time in the later episodes. You're lucky to even hear him talk. Lightning isn't a character. Ajit was hyped up in season 2 and he had a pretty interesting gimmick with the whole golden Bakugan, especially because of how overpowered they were in season 1. But let's be real here, his storyline was predictable as heck, and after season 2, he's as relevant as Shun, which isn't saying much. Dumb, stupid, dumb, lame design. Great Value Masquerade is a lame character and a rip-off Shadow the Hedgehog. Can you tell I hate it? Athena, actually I'll just censor her name so everybody can feel like they're in a safe space. Athena is an annoying character, but not in the same way as Dan. She's just worse. Admittedly, I didn't watch much of season 4, so everything I'm saying could be irrelevant, and if that's the case, then it is what it is. Still kind of annoying right now. Athena's meant to be a smarter version of Dan, but it makes no sense why she's such a jerk to him. I get you're better than him, but maybe chill out? She uses the new gimmick better than him, but how come Dan can't? He has more experience than her, so why does he suck so much now, and why is she so smug about it? Like, bro, he saved your life multiple times, and live footage of it was uploaded to the internet. What drugs are you on? I get that Dan is dumb sometimes and loses more often than he realistically should, but that's just the power system sucking even more than it should. The point I'm trying to make here is that the characters have about as much depth as a kid. Hey, wait, I said that already. As you can guess, there isn't much to say here. Oh yeah, there's a character who doesn't support Bakugan battles because she believes it's harmful and organizes a campaign to ban Bakugan battling, and that's funny no matter how you look at it.
It's time to stop having Bakugan battles. They hurt Bakugan.
Drago's old voice actor came back, oh shoot, my mind is going blank. Man, the show doesn't have to be this lame, and yet here it is. You could have given the kids such a cool introduction to Bakugan, but yeah, I don't know, I guess this suffices. Like, come on, Leah can't carry this show on her own. How come Beyblade gets such a cool reboot, but this show just has to do this and suck? And it sucks a lot. I get that this show only exists to promote toys, but at least give it a bigger budget. Seriously though, why did I watch so much of this? I kept going in the hopes that it would get better, but it didn't. Obviously, if anything, it got worse. Again, I don't really have much to say now. This is just awful overall. There really isn't too much to say without it coming across as redundant. The show looks and feels cheap, the story is lacking, and the characters are, you know, not cool. Add on Athena and you have a pretty terrible reboot of a beloved franchise that you can watch all on Netflix. Moral of the story, just watch Nuvastroya, man, it's way better.
You gotta